Hello guys, I am back from another video, and today we're talking about what if Deku was an Oni. So in the last video we talked about how, in the first day of UA for them, they would basically go into their first class, or at least the class that they were assigned to, as they meet their new classmates, named Tenya Ida and Bakugo Katsuki. So, as everybody's basically introducing themselves, they also meet their teacher by the name of Mr. Aizawa, otherwise known as the hero Eraserhead, as everybody was told to go to the locker rooms to change for their first little event or little like test, which is the quick assessment test. They would basically just like start talking in the locker rooms as a certain boy by the name of Kirishima would look and see that Izuku is pretty much ripped, including having tattoos, which he thought was manly. So, after seeing Mineta basically was like peeking on the girls with a little hole, thanks to some old seniors or some old like students of UA basically doing it to, get the rocks off, Izuku would basically just like create a hole with his kanabo and basically tries to crush the little brat. So yeah, after being told to get out for their quick assessment test, they would do it as Izuku would finish it with fine colors but still being in second place. The first place winner was surprisingly Ibarra. So, as everybody was basically talking about how that they're not going to be expelled, but Bakugo would be pissed that he got a lower ranking than these two idiots, which he believed that are weaker than him. Because after all, flashy quirks equal, fucking power. Why not? Oh, God's sake. Anyway, so Bakugo would try to, kind of hurt Ibarra, as Izuku would save her by literally trying to almost kill him. He would basically bring out his, katana at him, almost cutting his neck. But thankfully he didn't, as he would tell Bakugo to shut up and just at least be a little bit humble, instead of being a little shit. I didn't really actually said that in the last video, but just imagine it like that. So yeah, as everybody's basically leaving, as they would be encountered by two different students, in this case, Tenya Ida and Ochako Uraraka. They would be told by them that they want to maybe join them basically going home together, so they would decide to do it. So as everybody's basically going home, they would basically they don't really have any hitches or whatever, but thankfully they got back home safely as they basically gone to sleep for their next day of UA. So yeah, that's basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, as everybody's basically waking up from their, little day, or at least their first day at UA, they start leaving and they go back to class, as everybody's basically excited, but until they realize that it's just basically like a normal ass high school. Until they were basically excited again, as Izuku would ask what the hell is going on, talking to a certain, person with earjacks for earlobes. In this case, Jiro. Jiro would say this: I heard that there's this brand new teacher around here. Apparently he's pretty famous, but we don't really know. As one of them specifically says this, being a girl by the name of, you probably know her. She also has horns, aka Miss Mina Ashido. As Mina would say this: yeah, I heard that he's quite powerful as well. And we don't really know who he is, but probably he's pretty strong. As Bakugo would be pissed off, saying, I'm the strongest here, for God's sake. As Izuku would say to himself, as usual. He would sigh as they would hear the sound of footsteps that are basically shaking the ground, as the door would basically fly off, basically breaking the window where it basically was aimed at, as they hear, I am here, as they would see All Might, as everybody's basically excited, including, Kinako and, Ibarra. Izuku would not be excited a lot much, even though he doesn't look like it. he's actually quite excited meeting All Might. Because after losing his memories, he would basically become the usual Izuku, but except with a bit of like a temperament, but and also having a bit of confidence. So, as All Might would say this, hello children. So, this is going to be your brand new class known as Heroics. But, before we start this little, well, class, I want all of you to, these, as everybody was given paper and pencils, as everybody would say this. Wait, what are we supposed to do with these? As he would say this. Oh, you're gonna be making your hero costumes. But don't worry, you're not actually gonna be making them. You're just going to be making the blueprints of these hero costumes. As everybody's basically excited, as one of them would say this. We're making our own hero costumes? That's awesome! As Yuzuki would say this. Huh. Making our own hero costumes, eh? As he would give off this smile. As he would say this. As All Might would say, ah, I see. So, before we actually start off our class, I want all of you to maybe just draw your hero costumes and then in like a few days, or at least maybe like, wait for a second, because on maybe about like 2 more days, we're gonna be having a special little test for you guys. In this case, I want all of you guys to maybe make your hero costumes because that test is gonna be testing out your heroic type deeds. In this case, you being a hero is by being a true hero. In this case, showing everybody that you're willing to help others. As one of them would say this, whatever. As this person was Bakugo, as everybody's starting to get to know that All Might is actually quite a nice person. I mean, it's pretty obvious after all, he is All Might. So, as everybody was told to start drawing now, Izuku would start drawing off his hero costume. He would start taking inspiration from, himself. Being that he looks like an Oni, aka ogre / demon or whatever. I mean, several interpretations of Oni are basically either ogres or demons. I mean, in Demon Slayer, they literally call them Oni in, like, the sub. Or at least the ones that are basically, they're basically, like, speaking Japanese. And some interpretations, say that they're, like, ogres or something like that. I think because they wield clubs and they almost resemble, trolls or something like that. So, yeah. After he finished drawing, he would be told by All Might to go to the, what is that called? To the support course to get his, costume submitted. So, while he's being brought there, he was going there with the rest of his, friends. In this case, you probably know them. It's obvious. I mean, it's pretty much obvious. So, Kiriko and Ibara are basically, going with him as they walk towards the door where the supposed, support course is. As Izuku would decide to knock, as they would see a man that seems to have this weird-looking mask, to say the least. As he would say this, sorry, we're not really ready for your... Wait, you're not John. As he would say this, who the heck is John? Says Izuku, as he would say this. Oh, never mind. So I'm guessing you're here for your hero costumes, right? As he would say this. Yeah, here. As he would give out his, hero costume idea. As he would say this. Going for that Oni feel, right? As he would say this. Well, I do look like one, so... As he would say this. Don't worry. We'll make that maybe 24 hours. And as for you two... As they were given their, they start giving their, hero costume ideas, as you would say this. Don't worry, we'll be making them, and trust me, it's gonna be taking, maybe 1 day at least. As he would basically, close the door as they hear an explosion, which was worrying. So, after that day, they are basically just doing some general hero work, talking about, heroism in general. So, the next day comes, as everybody's basically excited for a brand new test. In this case, the Heroes vs. Villain test, as All Might would appear as he would say, So, I heard that you finally got your hero costumes ready, right? As everybody is basically excited, as he would say this. So, here, as everybody was given their hero costumes in, well, briefcases, as everybody is basically excited, including Ibarra and Kinako, as everybody was told by All Might to go into the locker rooms to get ready. So, everybody's basically outside right now except for Izuku, because he's still wearing his costume. As everybody's basically complimenting theirs, they would hear the sounds of boots, or at least something smacking on the ground, sounding like metal, as one of them would say this. Wait, is that you, Ida? As Ida would say this. I'm not walking right now. As they would see in the tunnel that a blue figure is basically appearing. And this person is Izuku. And his hero costume looks like this. He would look like this, wearing this, well, mask that almost resembles like those typical, Oni mask, but except it's just half of the face. Just the bottom, part of the face. As everybody's saying this. Whoa, your costume looks great! As one of them would say this. It looks minimalistic, to say the least. As Izuku would say this. Well, I'm going for that type of feel, I guess. Besides, because they look like an Oni, I'm gonna embrace it. Why not? As one of them would say this. Yeah, Izuku. As one of them would look at him, being Kirishima, as he would say this. You look so manly, dude! As he would say this. Really? I guess so. As All Might would say this. Alright, everybody. Let's start our little test. But first, we need to do a little bit of a raffle. So we can pick teams. So, as everybody's being picked, everybody would get their partners, including Izuku. Apparently his partner is Kinako, as she would say this. So I'm gonna be teaming up with brother? Or at least my brother. As he would say this. Yeah, I guess so. As they were told that they're gonna be fighting against and a certain boy. In this case, Tenya Ida. So it's basically just a canon, but except, well, it's Kinako instead of, Uraraka. So, apparently he's in the hero team, as for Bakugo and Ida, they were in the villain team. So, as the villains go first, as they're putting up their bomb, as everybody is basically just waiting until everybody was told to get ready. Except, well, Izuku and, Kinako for some reason. As he would say this, being All Might. There we go. You can go now, both of you. And young Kinako. So, as everybody, or at least both of them, would start moving out, they would go into the, little, fake building, or at least a simulation building, as, well, Izuku would tell Kinako to maybe try and, go over there, while he's gonna be taking down Bakugo, because Bakugo seems to be quite interested in him, for some odd reason. So, as Kinako would start leaving, he would hear explosions in the distance. So, as Izuku is basically, getting out his, kunai, which, let me just tell you something, guys. Kunai are never meant to be used as, throwing knives. Not at all. I think the reason why is because they're, almost shape in media. Or in this case, in, most animes. Especially if it comes to Naruto. So, yeah, I'm just gonna go for that, usual, misconception. So, yeah. As Bakugo would say this, I'm coming for you, you damn nerd! As he would throw a large explosion, as Izuku would basically dodge. As he would grab his kanabo with his sword, as he would start charging at him, using his, kanabo to basically try and bash him away. Bakugo would start using the explosions to basically try and burst his, kanabo away, as his kanabo would basically be broken. I say this. Well, I guess I don't have a kanabo anymore, as Bakugo would say this. Ha! How do you like that? As Izuku would say this. I still have my sword though, so... As he would start going into like a samurai-like stance, as he would start charging in, saying, Ishina Dai Tencho! As he would start slicing through Baku's explosions, almost like they're nothing. Baku would keep exploding, as All Might is still watching him, saying, So, that's the Oni from that Buddhist sect. And he doesn't even know that he's an Oni. And he doesn't even know that he caused so many atrocities. I think that's for the best. After all, he seems to be quite, happy being a hero. At least wanting to become one. As Izuku is basically fighting him, he still is trying to, get near him, but unfortunately Baku's too fast and seems to be more reckless than him. As Baku would say this, Now, let's try these out. As Baku would start shooting out more larger blasts of explosions, Izuku would start coming closer to him as Izuku would get ready to slash at him, using his sword to basically try and cut him down, but not kill him. But Baku would say this, That's the biggest mistake that you ever made, eh? As he would pull on both of his pins, as All Might would say this, Bakugo, no, you're... As the explosion would happen, as Bakugo would see that Izuku is just, well, his top half would just be a burning, charred skeleton. All Might would say this, Young Bakugo, what did you do? As All Might would say, just be in shock. As Bakugo would say this, that's what you get, nerd, for trying to fight against me. I'm the best here, and as, for some reason, skin, sinew, blood is starting to come back to Izuku's top half, as everybody would be in shock. Kiniko would not notice this, but Ibara would, as she would be pissed at Bakugo after that. So, after Izuku basically regenerates for some reason, Izuku's able to regenerate, he would say this, Whoa, did I just die? As Baku would say this, How the hell did you... Whatever, I'm gonna bait you. As he would start using more explosions, as Izuku would say this, Oh no, you're not. As he would grab his kunai, as he would start shooting them at both of Bakugo's, clothing, as he would basically be stuck to a wall, as he would start, grabbing some, quirk, canceling tape, and Bakugo would be defeated. As Izuku would say this, Ow, that kind of hurt. Ow, 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 my face. So, as Izuku is basically going through every single room trying to find the bomb, he would go upstairs and going to the top floor. As he would open the door, basically saying, Alright, where's the goddamn bomb? As he would see Kiniko is still basically fighting, Ida. Ida is basically charging in at her, using several of his kicks, as Izuku would say this, Now, let's try this. As he would start charging in at him, as he would not notice Izuku basically going that fast, as, he would be kicked right in the face, as he would say this, Ow, that hurt, ow, as Izuku would say this, Nice fight, eh, Ida? As he would basically touch the bomb, as All Might would scream out, The hero team wins! As everybody would hear this, as Bakugo would be even more pissed, but unfortunately he can't use his quirk because quirk cancelling tape. So, as both Bakugo and Ida were brought back to the, to the waiting room or the watching room or whatever, as everybody was being told by All Might on who is the MVP of this fight. One of them, being the black-haired girl, which is Momo Yaoyorozu, would say this, It's obviously Izuku, even though he was a bit reckless, but thanks to his, somehow I didn't know that he had regeneration, as he would say this, I didn't know that he had regeneration in the first place, for God's sake, so, that's actually new for me at least, as she would say this, Sure, but it was quite a surprise. And also for you, Bakugo, because you almost tried to kill him, I don't really respect you because of that. As Baku would bite back, saying, whatever, he was a nerd anyway. As All Might would say this, young Bakugo, that's not how a hero should act. As he would say this, whatever. He would basically shut up, as All Might would say this, are you okay, young Midoriya? That explosion was pretty big, and it would probably hurt even destroy probably even the city. Are you at least, as Izuka would say this, yeah, I'm kind of okay. Ow, it kind of hurt my eye, and my head, and a bit of my chest. As All Might would say this, go to recovery girl later after this class, okay? As he would say this, sure, All Might. So, as he would grab the remnants of his kanabo, he would say this, I should probably get a new one. As Izuku would start leaving, as everybody is basically in shock about what happened. Seeing Izuku able to regenerate after that large explosion would be just like, what the hell? So yeah. So as everybody is basically just like doing their whole thing, basically just like doing the rest of, heroes versus villain test, everybody was told to leave because it's the end of the day. Izuku would start leaving with both, Kineko and also, Ibara. Ibara would start worrying about him, saying, well, are you okay, Izuku? Or are you, as you would say this, well, I still kind of hurt, but don't worry, not Mount Lady, I meant, Recovery Girl, kind of healed me up because of it. I still feel the pain, but don't worry, it's not that painful anymore. As one of them would specifically say this, being Kineko. I'm sorry, Izuku. As Izuku would say this. Come again? As she would say this. I'm sorry for letting myself do that. As he would say this. Well, it was my order, so it wasn't my fault or your fault or anything like that. As she would say this. No, you got yourself almost killed, and I almost thought you were. As she would start crying, as Ibara would see this, as Izuku would just go closer to her, as he would start, basically just like patting on her head, saying, don't worry. Besides, I'm pretty much okay. That's all that matters, I guess. As she would say this. I guess you're right. She would start hugging him as Ibara would somewhat get jealous as she thinks in her mind, I don't like this. Even though I detest, even though I detest, divulging myself, just like indulging in the sin of jealousy, the sin of envy, but for some reason I envy her being taken care of by Izuku, Izukun. She would basically just like start, getting a little bit mad as everybody, or more specifically Kineko and Izuku, would basically go home. But as for, Ibara, let's go to her perspective, shall we? So, she's basically all alone in her house because she doesn't have parents anymore. After all, they did die in a car crash. That is why she started, worshipping God, or at least a Christian God. It's basically like a coping mechanism. As she would say this, why am I so jealous of why am I so jealous of Kineko with Izuku? I'm not, I do not indulge in the sin of envy. I do not indulge in the sin of lust. Why? She would basically say to this, she would say this to herself, as she would say this. Wait, does this mean yeah, I am in love with him. Maybe I should try and confess to him. Maybe even, as she would realize if she does do it, Kineko would be angry at herself. Maybe even sabotage her, well, relationship with Izuku. Even though that's a bit over exaggerated, but she thinks that way. As she would say this, no, I will not let her win. I'll be Izuku's. She would start going for those yandere eyes as she would say this. No way. Even though God detests it. Maybe God might forgive me for this. She would start, getting those yandere eyes as she would start, like, almost blowing out this, as her breath would be visible every time when she starts, like, breathing, as she would say this. Yes, maybe I should. Izuku, you're all mine. Izukun. So, yeah, that's gonna be the end of this episode, so, yeah. Oh boy, this is gonna be an interesting what if. Because of, the whole, like, yandere Ibara, so, yeah, so. I hope you liked the video, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.